Alright then, welcome to my life sciences video. So today I will be doing the DNA. To be more specific or precise, I will be doing the sub-concept of DNA, which is called the discovery of the structure of the DNA. Okay, so make sure that you take notes while I'm giving you some important information. Okay, now for your curriculum, it's very important for you to understand the scientist who discovered the structure of the DNA matriculants. Okay, now, we are only going to talk about four scientists. We are going to talk about Rosalind Franklin, we are going to talk about James Watson, we are going to talk about Francis Crick, and the Maurice Wilkins, okay? And there is this scientist that I am going to talk about, but this scientist is not that very important for your curriculum. It's Max Perutz, okay? Now this is what is happening. Back then, I'm going to take you, we're going to take a huge step backwards. I'm going to take you to the history of the DNA. How was DNA discovered? Okay, because that's what you need to know for this curriculum. Now, okay, fine. Now, back then in 1869 to 1943, the DNA, it was already been discovered, but yet the structure of the DNA wasn't well known. Okay, there were so many loopholes that we needed to understand about DNA. Only few portions or only few fragments about the DNA were understood back then in those years that I've just mentioned. Now, in early 1950s, there were these two gentlemen, these two famous important gentlemen for your curriculum who came with the discovery of the DNA. Now, these two gentlemen, it was James Watson, which was the microbiologist, and Francis Crick, which was the physicist. Now, these two gentlemen, they worked together at the University of Cambridge, whereby they studied the structure of the DNA, whereby they knew that the DNA is in double helix, whereby they knew that the DNA it has two strands, whereby they knew that the DNA can replicate itself. You understand what I'm saying? Whereby they knew or they understood that the DNA it is made up of monomers or the building blocks which are called the nucleotides. Now these two gentlemen, they opened a door of understanding the genetic inheritance, the genetic coding, everything that says DNA, everything that says genes. These two gentlemen, they were famous back then in early 1950s. Okay, but now these two gentlemen, they're working at the, like I said, they're working at the University of Cambridge, at the Cavendish Laboratory. Now these two gentlemen, in 1953, on 28th of February, that's whereby they announced that this is how the structure of DNA looks like. These are the blocks of the DNA, the building blocks of the DNA. This is the shape of DNA. This is the they understood that the DNA can replicate itself. These two gentlemen, that's what they announced in 1953 on the 28th of February. But on the very same year, in 1953, on the 25th of April, they were formally announced as what? They were formally announced as those scientists who discovered the structure of the DNA. But in 1958, that's whereby they received the Nobel Prize, meaning they were recognized as the scientists who came up with a huge discovery of the DNA. Now, these scientists, listen, now these scientists in 1958, both of them, both of them, it's Jameson Watson and Francis Crick, two of them. They were also awarded with Maurice Wilkins. There is this other guy who was called Maurice Wilkins in 1958. Maurice Wilkins, Jameson, Francis Crick, James Watson, all of these three scientists, they received a Nobel Prize regarding the discovery of the structure of the DNA. But now, you want to ask me this simple question. Where does Maurice Wilkins comes from? You said in 1953, there were only two scientists who discovered the structure of the DNA, which was James Watson, the microbiologist, Francis Crick, the physicist. But where does Maurice Wilkins comes from? Aha! Now, this is what happened. Before they received a Nobel Prize, which was in 1958, this is what happened. There is this fourth scientist who is very important in the discovery of the structure of the DNA. Her name is Rosalind Franklin. Rosalind Franklin, Max Perutz, and Maurice Wilkins were three scientists that were working together at the university, at the King's College in London. Okay, so Maurice Wilkins, Max Perutz, and Rosalind Franklin were three scientists who were working on the structure of the DNA. Now, this is what happened. When these three scientists, meaning they were colleagues, when they were working together, Rosalind Franklin, which is a female scientist, Rosalind Franklin, she is the one who managed to determine the X-ray diffraction patterns of a DNA structure, but yet she did not understood what is that. But she managed to get the X-ray diffraction patterns of a DNA structure. Now this is what happened, because Rosalind Franklin was acquaintance with Max Perutz and Maurice Wilkins. Maurice Wilkins and Max Perutz, due to their quarrels or due to their whatever mishaps that had happened in past, they had to go in separate ways, whereby Maurice Wilkins betrayed Rosalind Franklin by doing what? By taking that X-ray photograph which was discovered by Rosalind Franklin to James Watson and Francis Crick. Meaning, this is what happened. Maurice Wilkins took the X-ray photographer. I am Maurice Wilkins, and I go to two gentlemen which are now famous, which are the founders of the DNA structure. I took my X-ray photographer, and then what did I do? I took Rosalind Franklin's X-ray photographer, me, Maurice Wilkins, and what did I do? I took it to these two gentlemen without Rosalind Franklin consent or permission. So that's what Maurice Wilkins did. He took the X-ray photographer to who? Number one, James Watson and Francis Crick. Now, James Watson and Francis Crick, they worked on that X-ray photographer that was discovered by Rosalind Franklin. As they worked towards that, that's whereby they could understand. That's whereby they could see. No, the DNA is double helix. The DNA, it has two strands. The DNA has monomers, which are called the nucleotides. The DNA can replicate itself, meaning those two gentlemen, that's how in 1953 they came into conclusion that now this is the structure of the DNA. This is how the structure of the DNA looks like. You understand what I'm saying? Meaning these two gentlemen, they used Rosalind Franklin's work to achieve their famous work today. That's why we call them the famous scientists who discovered the structure of the DNA. Now in 1958, like I said, these three scientists were awarded the Nobel Prize, meaning James Watson, Francis Crick, and who? Maurice Wilkins. But you wanna ask me this simple question. Okay, in 1958, when all of these scientists were awarded, what about the fourth scientist, which is Rosalind Franklin? No, this is what happened. Rosalind Franklin died due to ovarian cancer. Okay, so she died, so she was ineligible to attend the award, so she was not there. But what I can say to you is all of these scientists have done a phenomenal work, because now today we understand the importance of the DNA, that the DNA is very helpful when it comes to paternity tests. DNA is accurate and it never lies when it comes to the criminal offenses, whatever. When it comes to the diseases, it helps a lot. Now we understand how disease affect human through their genes. We understand the sex-linked diseases and so forth. So without all of these guys, we wouldn't be here understanding the DNA. So again, thank you for watching my video. If you really do not understand, just comment on the comment section below. We'll try to attend that. Thank you.